Welcome to the Cincy Postcast presented by LASIK, where better vision leads to better calls. I'm Kevin Wallace, and before we get started with today's episode, I have the privilege and honor of telling you about our friends over at Streetside Brewery. That's right, the best brewery in Cincinnati sponsors this podcast, and I should let you know that our good friends at Streetside, aside from having the best beers in the city, aside from having a variety of beers that will knock your socks off, aside from the fact that they also do mixed drinks, by the way, aside from the fact that they, in fact, sell some of the best burgers in the city with the food truck that is available just outside, they are also an FC Cincinnati pub partner, which means with the road games coming up this weekend and next weekend, well, you can go to Streetside to watch the game. That is right. And that is what I highly recommend to anyone and everyone looking for a place to watch the game this weekend. Go to Streetside, check them out, have a good time there, enjoy the beers, and let us know how you did. How was it? Let the Discord know that you were there at Streetside. It's a good time. You'll run into other fans of the team. It's a great place to watch the games. And like I said, you get some good food and some good beer to boot. So a huge thank you to Streetside for sponsoring this episode and so many other episodes of the Postcast. And on today's episode, well, there's some FC Cincinnati news that we get to talk about. We don't talk to the news. We talk about the news in this episode, and players coming and going, but mostly coming into the team, back into the country, which is exciting. Handful of guys still out hurt. We dive into that, as well as some academy news, a little bit of academy news in there. Part 2, it is all Patreon questions. That's right. I finally got around to making that post. So we have questions to answer in part 2, and then in part 3, what's a look ahead to DC this weekend, which you should watch at Streetside, by the way. Did I already mention that? Anyway, you put that all together, you got yourselves a classic Thursday episode of the Postcast. Joining me to talk about all of that and more, once again joined by the one and only Chief. Chief, should we be worried about Grayson at this point? It's been 3 of the last 4 episodes that we've recorded without him.
I do hate to bring this up, but I don't know if people know this. There was a tariff that was levied on the Postcast, and unfortunately, with it being, I believe it's a 66% tariff. Yeah. We've had to cut back on Grayson in order to keep the product at a manageable level to serve to the public right here. So if you have a problem with this, you know the man in charge to contact. You know, they put the tariffs on the Penguins. The Postcast was also not immune to this.
Look, it was this or increase the Patreon. And I know the sort of the threshold of people willing to financially support this product is at exactly $2. Right. So,
but the good news is with the quick reversal that some of these tariffs have had, it wouldn't surprise me if, something gets signed and we can get Grayson back here in a couple of days.
It's not clear what else we may have to give up. It does seem to be that the trade going around right now is pro bono legal services. So you two may be on the hook for something. But
so I've started doing this in my personal life, that whenever something is wrong, I've just started defaulting to blaming the tariffs.
Yeah, it's
like
good.
I came in back late from lunch the other day, and I was like, I'm sorry, tariffs.
Yeah.
The office.
Tariffs have made driving much more difficult. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like I had to respond back to an email that was delayed. I'm sorry, tariffs and everything. And I'm hoping that people appreciate that tariffs are impacting life in a myriad of different ways.
What's funny is the tariffs being a reason to not respond to an email is legitimate in my place of work. That you very well could have ended up in a multi-hours long meeting trying to figure out what the hell is going on.
Yeah. So, Reds today blow another lead. My
Tariffs.
response, goddamn tariffs. Why would tariffs do this?
Hey, the Reds have a storied history of finding talent in Cuba. Okay, so not impossible on that one.
So you have my permission out there that just if something is going wrong in your personal life, just blame tariffs. And the thing is, what I have also learned over the last, we'll call it a gentleman's 6 to 8 months, nobody really understands what tariffs are. So when you blame tariffs, other people, you're going to find a lot of people just nod along and be like, well, yeah, that makes sense. I think that's how tariffs work.
It's really good. I don't think people realize that things on boats right now are coming to the United States, and the tariff, whatever it may be, is paid when it shows up at the dock by the agents, the folks that you have to work with there. There's all these freight forwarders and things like that. And you pay the rate that it is that day. So you can buy a product and it can take 3 months to get here. Anybody who has bought let's say a non-reputable jersey is familiar with some of these timelines.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Leather jackets with your logo here.
Yeah, those two.
You pay the rate of the tariff when it shows up. Not when you get paid for it. So it's real fun not knowing what the hell's going on in a given moment.
I want to be the guy that works at the dock, so to speak.
Yes.
That's levying the tariffs on the bootleg Tom Brady or Lionel Messi jerseys.
Yes.
It's this is clearly Fugazi gear. But you're going to have to pay another 104% extra for it, I guess. I don't know. These don't look like Ray-Bans.
Which is funny because on some level they want to pass them off as legitimate, right? Because, there's real legal implications to selling ripped off merchandise. But then also you want to explain that no, but the values of these are way less. Right.
I mean, that would be one way to cut down on the DH Gate sales is if they started tariffing jerseys as if they were the authentics. It's here's, I'm sorry, according to what this looks like, this is a $450 authentic, Lionel Messi, Inter Miami kit, not just the replica version, the authentic. Yes. I'm going to have to charge you, $400 a piece for each one of these bootleg jerseys. Sorry, man.
So suddenly your really great deal on a really great jersey just got way worse than just buying it off the rack from the team or from Dick's or whatever.
Right. You know what's really funny too is that over Christmas I had to go to the Kenwood Mall, which I despise. I hate going to the mall at Christmas.
Yeah.
That's a lie. I love seeing people that are just in panic, still shopping brick and mortar. But there was actually a kiosk in the mall that was selling very clearly DH Gate brand soccer jerseys. And I'm like, nobody's aware that this is going on right here. It's one thing to order them for yourself, but to actually set up a stand in the mall and sell these, that feels like a step too far.
What's funny is, yes, completely agree, but it's somehow okay to me if you do it at a flea market.
Yeah, flea market's fine. Like Trader's World or the other one next to the Touchdown Jesus megachurch. Yes. That's cool. But you're openly right next to Dillard's. It feels like somebody should step in and say, you know what? This is not the brand we're trying to project here at the Kenwood. I'm sorry, that was an OG Cincinnati faux pas. The Kenwood Town Center, because real ones know the Kenwood Mall is across the street.
Yes. It does feel too you're scamming grandma or moms, right? A mom can quickly look and go, oh, this Inter Miami kit sells for $150 from Adidas. This guy's selling it to me for $75. That's great. You don't realize that guy bought it for $3 off of DH Gate. Whereas at the flea market, sell the DH Gate kit for $25. Everybody's cool with it,
Yeah,
they
know what you're getting.
Out.
Know what you're getting into. You know what you're getting into when you go to the flea market. You're just double checking that the name's spelled right.
Yeah,
that it's not like the San Jose Earthquakes badge on the front by mistake or something like that.
Which is fun in its own way. But
right.
yes.
Which is, for, if the price is right, that's hysterical. I'm all in on that.
Oh, God. Chief, today is the 10-year anniversary of a very memorable moment in FC Cincinnati history. It was the first home game for the FC. I believe it was the third game of the season, maybe the second game of the season.
I think, because they opened in Charlotte or Charleston.
Charleston, because the home game was against Charlotte. Yeah.
Charleston Battery. I think it was the second game of the season. They opened up on the road and they played the second game at home.
Yeah.
I could look this up, but it's more fun just to guess.
No, it's a lot of fun to guess. But I ask you, where were you on the first home game?
Oh, I was in attendance. In fact, if you are incredibly eagle-eyed and you freeze at the exact right frame in the video that the FC posted, you can actually see your boy, the Chief, in the Bailey celebrating the first ever goal scored at Nippert Stadium with Sean Okoli's scissor kick.
So good.
We were all so young, so naive. We had no idea what this was going to eventually turn into.
No. I was also in the Bailey. I was about dead center of the Bailey. I believe, so I know I end the game holding the Canadian flag. So at that time, we just had like the nationalities of the players on the team's flags in the Bailey because there wasn't like a lot of infrastructure for making and buying flags at that point.
We profoundly didn't know what we were doing like that early on. I can say that as someone who was ingrained in supporters culture from an early on point.
Yes. So if you find a Canadian flag in any of the replays, I'm probably the one holding it. I don't remember at what point in the match I was given the Canadian flag, but I know I end the game with the Canadian flag. So.
I remember it was cold. It was a lot colder than I thought it was going to be that day. And it was for a while, it was one of the colder matches in team history, that first one ever.
Yeah.
The march was nothing like you would have thought, because again, Dienenstadt was marching from Rheingeist for this match.
And the Pride marched from the
Brass Tap over on Calhoun, if I'm remembering correctly.
I don't even know video of the first march, by the way. It's great.
I think like a couple of us were tailgating in the parking lot of Adriatico's, which then that like tailgating eventually became the Queen City Mafia. So like we all went back to the Brass Tap because I was just looking for an excuse to tailgate because I'm a big tailgating enthusiast. Sure. So any excuse back in the day to bring the portable grill out, like that, I was all in on that. And then that sort of lived on after I was like, no, I probably should go hang out with the supporters group I helped found. I probably should do this, like set an example. What a game. What a memory. And also, the first game was like, there's a lot of people here, but it wasn't until a couple weeks later where I started to think there might be some legs to this. This might be bigger than, because everyone expected they'd have like, this is interesting type crowd for the first game. And they did okay. I think they had like 10, 11,000 people at that first game. Yeah.
Which was like almost a USL record just by itself right there. Yeah.
Because like, I remember, I don't know if I don't think we talked about this at the live show we did at Gold Star, but there was actually a trial match at Nippert Stadium like a couple weeks prior where they played the University of Dayton, I want to say. And a bunch of us that like were in the SG stuff, we all went just to sort of like, hey, let's see what Nippert looks like. Let's see what the setup is. And I'd been to Nippert a ton for UC football games. I used to go to a ton of UC football games back in the day when they were good. And haven't been able to make that statement recently.
Yeah.
But like we came in and there was maybe like, we'll say generously a couple hundred people at this like preseason thing. And all of us sort of looked at each other and were like, oh my God, this place is going to look so empty if they don't sell tickets. This is going to be like embarrassingly so. Yeah. So seeing like 10,000 people and the way Nippert was that they say they would tell you it holds 40,000 people, but like it's dangerously uncomfortable at that level.
Yeah.
10,000, 11,000 people spreading out just a little bit and enjoying the fact that you don't need to sit exactly on that one little marker on the bleacher. It looked pretty full, and looking around there, I was like, oh, you know what? This could be a pretty cool thing right here. Because they had tons of tarps up, if you remember. Like they had whole sections of the stadium tarped off to try and encourage the crowd to fill in a little bit, or to, you know, make sure that it presented well on television.
Right.
But
and I remember one of the tarps went missing after
somebody
that
stole
first
it.
game.
Yeah, some students stole it. Like the logo.
If you know the person who stole it, or if you are perhaps the person who stole it, we will keep you anonymous, but I would love to talk to you.
Statute of limitations is so beyond past on that. Let's talk about this.
Yes. I would love to know why. I would love to know how. Great stuff. But yeah, so Chief, the last time we recorded,
yes,
I had a bone to pick about it being the 10-year anniversary year, but it's only been 9 years of soccer. And I had it pointed out to me by somebody in the know. Yeah. That in fact,
I mean, I was a part of this group thread too, where it was pointed out to both of us
that it has been 10 years of soccer, with this current season being the 10th season,
which would be the appropriate time to celebrate 10. So
it does add up.
I said this when we learned about this. Once again, to otherwise hardworking podcasters, hardworking Americans, tripped up by the concept of year zero.
It was a rough moment as I had to sit there and do the math, and it came down to a simple math equation in my head, which was 2025 minus 10 equals 2015, and it turns out years don't work quite like that. Also, nope. We are in the midst of it. So I posted this on the socials earlier today. This is something
kids intuit, by the way, where, you know, they talk about your birthday. Well, how old are you?
Yes.
It's like, I'm something and a half.
Yes.
Like adults don't think that way. Like, oh, I'm about to be whatever it is. I am this, but I'm about to be that. It's like, no. You have to start counting from the origin point. And when you hit the end of that, once you hit that next birthday, brother, you're already into that next year. You're no longer 5, you're 5.5 working on 6 right here.
Yes, exactly. If people are familiar with the life insurance space or something adjacent to that, you may be familiar with your actuarial age, where you round up tremendously usually. So actuarially, FC Cincinnati is 10 years old.
There we go.
But so I posted, I sent the dumbest email I've ever sent, and I would like to read you the email I sent. Now, unfortunately, God, if this had landed and I got something, could have had a moment on this episode. And I don't think we're going to have it, but I sent this. I will keep it as generic here. I will not out this person so that nothing bad happens. But I wrote, "Hello, Professor Smith. My name is Kevin Wallace, and I'm a graduate of the University of Cincinnati, 2011. I host a semi-successful soccer podcast covering our local soccer team.
Emphasis on
semi. Soccer team, FC Cincinnati, which this year is celebrating its 10-year anniversary. However, on a recent podcast, I mistakenly said 2016 was 9 years ago. It was since pointed out to me that this was 10 years ago. So my question to you is, can you confirm that 2016 was 10 years ago, despite the fact that 2025 minus 10 equals 2015. I sent this letter to a professor, or sent that email to a professor emeritus of mathematics at the University of Cincinnati. Really had to get to the bottom of this.
You know what? As I pointed out, there is no math section on the LSAT, and it shows.
I just needed to have it explained to me. Okay. Right. I just was curious as to, how this comes to be. So I not that I want to take back a take but I am willing and able to have an open mind and reassess a position when new information is presented to me. And I rescind my my complaints about this being the 10-year anniversary.
You should stick with it. You should stick with the take. You should stick with the take that if the team's first game was in 2016, that the proper time to celebrate is 2026, because what you want is the gear that says 2016 to 2026. That's the gear that looks good. It might not be mathematically correct, but the symmetry looks way better than 2016 to 2025. That doesn't look good. 2016 to 2026, that looks good.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. It really is an argument of aesthetics.
Aesthetics, yeah. No, it may be the club's 10th anniversary this year. It is their aesthetic 10th anniversary next year. The aesthetics are really something that modern society needs to embrace a little more thoroughly.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm here for you. I'm here for you. We're dudes supporting dudes right here.
I needed to come clean on that one. And what's maybe more scary for two reasons is only one person out of the 12 called me out on this, which makes me think a couple of things. One, people know I'm an idiot and just let me just keep on going. It's Animal House-ish, oh, he's on a roll, let him go. And there's so many other things in my life that I'm wrong about that nobody ever tells me, which is concerning.
Right.
Or everybody else agreed with me, which means the 12s are dumb, which could be a problem too.
No, it's the 12s are not dumb. We celebrate the aesthetic 10th anniversary.
Yes,
that's what we're here for. It's the aesthetic anniversary.
So there you go. Yeah, I think too. I don't know how hot of a take this is. The Sean Okolie's scissor kick in the first 20 minutes of the first game is a vital moment in this team being a success. And I think if that first game is not exciting and is not exciting until very late, I don't think this team has the buzz that it has that carries it through the USL.
I don't know if that's the case, but I think it definitely, the fact that they had one very cool highlight to share around social media that people had a cool moment to talk about, I think that juiced things. I honestly, the joke is that they were attendance FC back in the day. And there was a certain vibe to it that like, okay, so they had 10,000 for that game. I think the very next game they offered like buy one, get one tickets if you were like, or dollar tickets if you were a youth soccer supporter. And so the next game had like 20,000 people at the game. And at a certain point in Cincinnati, like if enough people start showing up to something, everyone's going to show up to check it out. Like, well, have you heard? Like, wow, they drew that many people. I should be doing this too. And it became sort of a self-fulfilling thing. But I do think that like what the club needed positive word of mouth around the first year. They needed everyone that went to those games to talk about what a really, really good experience it was. And to that end, the club got really lucky in that, number one, they had some exciting players, Okolie being chief among them in terms of like delivering cool highlights and scoring goals. And number two, they had a pretty good crop of people that showed up looking to get drunk, sing, and put on a show in the Bailey. And that's like what the two things everybody always talked about, like when you had like a casual that talked to you about FC Cincinnati, was it's a lot more exciting than I thought it would be. Yeah. Well, there's three things. The crowds are really big. It's a lot more exciting than I thought it would be. And they have these people in the end zone that stand the entire time and sing and play drums and set off pyrotechnics. And there's nothing like it at any sporting event that I've ever been to. And those three things kind of drove the casual fan attendance for the better part of like the USL era. Yeah. And during the first 3 years of MLS was the only selling point. So, and I mean, until the COVID year, but pretty much spot on there. So yeah, it was cool. And I'm glad the club is embracing this part of its history. Like we've talked about before, there are so many other places that they pretend like their pre-MLS history is kind of this dirty thing that they don't want to talk about. Yeah. And it's cool to see the club remember that a little bit. And there's going to come a time where the majority of the fan base is made up of people that never watched a game at Nippert Stadium, and we'll turn into those old head Bengals fans that remember going to games at Nippert, or the Reds fans that remember games at Crosley when Riverfront Stadium got built. And that's sad, but it's also, if you were there, cool. Little badge of honor thing, like there's not a lot of people that are going to be able to say that, I was at the first one. Right.
It's a cool moment. And you said, I'm happy that the team is celebrating it, and I'm glad somebody else is doing the math.
Not us.
So Chief, what else is going on in and around the FC?
Oh, the great news today.
Please.
Just the news we were all looking for. Teenage Hadebe back in the United States. We talked a little bit about the situation he'd been going through on the Monday episode. The club posts a video. He's back playing a little bit of mini golf to celebrate the being Masters Week.
Yeah.
And word from Carter Chapley is that he is back. He has received his green card successfully. His entire family have received their permanent resident cards, which is just awesome. And man, it was good to see him back today. And that's just, we are now one step closer, and we are inching ever closer to finally seeing the fully armed and operational battle station that is the FC Cincinnati starting 11. And I can't wait.
At the very least, using the sort of Pat Noonan, who is training all week and who is here sort of rubric, we've got also Miles Robinson, who has been in and out of the team recently, and Matt Miazga in the full group today. Teenage Hadebe as well. That's the back three. Angle and Yedlin healthy as can be. We may have, for the first time in 2025, the back six, I will say, including Roman, of the defense for this team.
Available.
Yeah. We'll see if Miazga is actually starting here, but we're inching closer.
Yeah. I think that the game to circle is probably not this week against DC, but the game really to circle is when they come back home on April 26th, because I would, if I were a betting man, I would bet that April 26th match will probably be, knock on wood that nobody else picks up any injuries or any issues between now and then. But that seems to be a good date if you were going to look and say, when will we see the full all starting 11, the projected 2025, 2026, 2025 starting 11? That would be the day that I would be looking for it, because they'll go to Chicago next after this.
Yeah.
Maybe
play on turf, right? Is Soldier Field turf?
I think it's grass.
Okay.
I think it's grass, or it's like a grass turf hybrid.
Okay.
I don't know. That's Chicago. It could be cold. It's an evening kick at Soldier Field. Evander is still not training with the full team. I don't know. You might see it there. You might very well see. But afternoon game at TQL Stadium, 26th of April. Cross your fingers, circle that. That could be the full debut.
Yeah. And, Noonan said the last game, Miazga's on the bench, maybe had 10 or 15 minutes in him if they needed it in an emergency. That doesn't scream he starts this week.
No, I would suppose that he's probably, if you see Matt Miazga come out in this game for a 20-minute run, that would be a tremendously positive sign.
Yeah. You love to see it.
That's a grass field in DC too, so that would also be a good spot for him to get some minutes.
No, that'll be good. Chief, is there anything else in and around this club that we need to address, or anything else?
The training, Evander is still out. I think like I just mentioned. So Evander is training off to the side or indoors away from the full team. So is Yuya Kubo. Watch this space tomorrow, or as you're listening to this today on Thursday, especially. If he hasn't trained with the full team this week, it's a good bet that he is not going to be available for selection this week. or if he is, it will be in a bench role only. You want to get him back out on the field, I think, as quickly as possible, just because you want him getting as many reps with Kevin Denke as possible. And DC is, we'll talk about it in the preview, DC is awful.
Yeah.
So it would be a good, like, get right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, Lucas Engel makes team of the match day for anyone who cares about that. I'm sure there's probably contract and performance incentives there somewhere for making that enough times. Always nice to see a player selected for that when they don't score a goal, because I tend to disregard a lot of these MLS of the week awards because they give it to guys who score, and there's a lot of players in this league who they're not going to put goals on the stat sheet, but they're still incredibly important, incredibly good players. Like Obi should have been on team of the match week probably a dozen times by now, but he's not a goal scorer. In fact, I think one of the only times he's appeared on it was when he scored a goal against Red Bull a couple years ago.
That's exactly how they do that. I don't know that they do this anymore, but oh, no, they still do. Okay, so it's the team of the match day, which is an annoying change this year. But the graphic they used to put out would have like the Audi symbol.
Goals drive performance, and they would have the goal like with the Audi symbol underneath their name, right?
Which always made me think, of course, they're just going to overemphasize the guys who score, because that's another time you can put the sponsor's logo on the graphic. Then they may be contractually obligated to have 7 logos on there, right?
So get the goal scorers on there, damn it.
Yeah. The only other thing I'll say came up this afternoon. It's not a huge deal, but there's one tiny little thing that might be interesting, just might be neat. FC Cincinnati Academy launches a regional discovery program. Now, these always
regional discovery rights. Ooh,
right? Yeah, right.
We got a new one, folks.
Actually, so that does exist. So they, instead of homegrown territories, the thing that they created now is that in your region, you can call dibs, I think, on up to like 40 players. And then after that, those kids can go, that aren't on that list, can go to any MLS academy if they come calling. So it does make sense to sort of have these camps and programs to try to discover as many young talented players as possible. And one of the programs is going to be in downtown Cincinnati. That would make sense over at Taft. But the other one is at the University of Dayton. And I only find that a little interesting because back when FC Cincinnati joined MLS, the Columbus Crew used to have the homegrown territory rights of the entire state of Ohio. And then there was like a lot of negotiating about what they were going to do with the Dayton area. So sort of assumed that Cincinnati would get the South and Dayton would get the North. But Dayton already is like pretty close to Columbus and they had relationships there. So I just find it interesting that Cincinnati is gently planting a flag up there. So I don't know. We haven't heard a whole lot about the Northern Kentucky MLS Next Pro team rebranding. Just, they're getting a little friendly with Dayton. It wouldn't shock me to extrapolate this out much further that the MLS Next Pro team ends up relocating to Dayton.
Maybe. Either way, there probably should be some sort of a thing in Dayton that FC Cincinnati has some sort of an agreement with. Yeah. We keep inching closer. One of my favorite stories that has been going since I was a kid is the slow but eventual merger of the Dayton metropolitan area and the Cincinnati metropolitan area. Much like they talk about the Milky Way galaxy and the Andromeda galaxy will eventually collide in 5 billion years.
It's roughly the same timeline.
Dayton and Cincinnati are roughly on the same time frame. And, like you look at it from space where they've got like the map that shows the lights and the one where you see that North Korea is all dark. Yeah. Like the lights have all now become one big song.
Yes.
So who knows? Maybe in the future you don't need to put a team in Dayton because Dayton just becomes Cincinnati.
Chief,
Dayton is the new Mason. I'm always saying this.
Which I think was Westchester's the new Mason. So yeah, let's just keep...
Mason is a state of mind. Mason just keeps going further north.
Yes. As the foremost urbanist podcast in Cincinnati, I think we should also come out and say that there should be a regional rail line connecting Cincinnati and Dayton to solidify this relationship and force the question.
If you've got time, I'm all about, let's talk about a regional rail line between Dayton and Cincinnati. And people aren't ready for this smoke yet. But stay tuned. We need to build an airport between the two cities and take away Kentucky's monopoly and control over air transit in the greater Cincinnati area. You build the airport a little further north, up on the highway up there. It can serve both Dayton and Cincinnati. And then the Dayton airport and CVG both become either cargo airports only or regional airports.
Oh, my God. And the rail would serve the airport and and the cities.
And then you land at the airport and you either go north or south on the rail line and you get to where you're going to go. BWI for Cincinnati.
Come on. It's right there. We could just, we combine our forces, Cincinnati and Dayton. Obviously, we have become independent city-states in this case, and we invade and conquer Wilmington. Yes. And we turn the community of Wilmington into the airport that Wilmington always kind of thought it would become. Right. And we just actually rekindle that dream, but it's actually under the control of Cincinnati and Dayton.
Right.
Yes.
The big winner in my fictional scenario here, where like there's an airport in between the two cities and there's train travel, is all of a sudden, because of this, Middletown, Ohio now has the best name in the history of towns. It's like, well, what is it? Well, it's a town in the middle of Cincinnati and Dayton. It's quite literally the middle town. Cincinnati North and Cincinnati proper.
Oh, it would be perfect. Come on, everybody.
Get behind it. Get behind it now, because it's coming. It's happening.
Yes.
Just in my head.
If there's one thing I know, it's that the suburbanites of northern Cincinnati would love a rail line connecting these two cities running through their communities. So I don't see any issue with this whatsoever.
Look, we don't speak NIMBY on this podcast, okay?
Preach. Chief, I think that does it for what little FC Cincinnati news we have. Let's head on over to part 2, where I did, in fact, post the April questions post to the Patreon, and we'll answer a couple of questions there, and then we will preview the match against DC to wrap us up. So let's head on over to part 2.
Let's do it.
Before we get on over to the next part of the episode, I do want to tell you about our friends over at Cincy Shirts. That is right. New year, new you. Go pick up some new threads over at Cincy Shirts. They got what you're looking for. They got Cincinnati sports. They got Cincinnati culture, Cincinnati geography, Cincinnati businesses, everything you're looking for. They got it over there at cincyshirts.com. Hey, when you're there, use the promo code ThePostCincy, all one word, all caps. They knock 10% off your entire order for using that one. And if I don't mind dropping this one, we sell merch through Cincy Shirts. That's right. You want a Post shirt, a Cincy shirt from Cincy Shirts? Check them out. It is good stuff there. We will have new designs for the new year, but they're not there yet. So this might be your last chance to collect some of these designs. You want an Opie shirt, one of the 12. They got some good stuff there. Hey, they're not just online. They're in person as well. Go check them out in Loveland and in Northern Kentucky. They've got 2 fantastic locations. They will print on demand. You can work with them, come up with maybe a little goofy idea. They'll work with you, I promise. And again, the promo code, ThePostCincy, all one word, all caps. They knock 10% off your order. That works on Post merch as well. Want to support us twice? Absolutely, you can do that. So huge thank you again to our friends over at Cincy Shirts, and a huge thank you to you, listener, for using that code. All right, we are back. And we have Patreon questions. I want to give a special shout out to one very special patron to the Patreon, and that is Grayson, for spending the $2 to try to find the questions that I left unanswered last week. And what's funny is not only did I not give you guys the password, which is great, and also you couldn't guess it, which is also great. But I didn't explain to you guys how I mark that I've read the questions. Nope. So I like the post as the postcast. So that's how you know, like if you get a notification on Patreon that the post has liked your question, that episode, you're getting your question answered. So
this is a little behind the scenes right here. I love it.
Yeah, but it also means like all of the people are going to know like, oh, they didn't answer my question on this episode. I'm going to skip it. But that's how we do it.
Just as long as you stay subscribed and have the auto download feature turned on, I could care less.
That's a great point. Auto download. You know, people ask this from time to time. Is there a preferred place to listen? No, it all works. I think if I really had to push it, listening to it on Podbean's website, I know for sure Podbean will count it because they host us there, but it really doesn't matter. They all kind of sort of feed back in. Also, the stats with podcasts are an inexact science thanks to how RSS feeds work. So,
yeah.
But in the meantime, we do have people financially supporting us, tariffs notwithstanding. For $2 a month, you can join the ranks of the beautiful and very attractive people who support the podcast financially. It is exactly $2 a month, and you keep the show going. So thank you for that. You also get to ask a question, which I'm going to ask and then answer here on the podcast. Let's go with Redbeard, who asks, should social norms expand so that someone else coughing is included in the things you say bless you after? I
kind of think it should go the other way. I think that we should get rid of saying bless you after sneezing. Ooh. I'm not a bless you enthusiast. This is very Cincinnati. I've always been a Gesundheit.
I like that.
I've always been a Gesundheit enthusiast here.
I like Gesundheit. I'll tell you this move. It gets a laugh once out of every 5 times in an office setting. Yeah. If it's very quiet, somebody sneezes, I shush them. Very funny.
It's a shame. we were actually just talking about it at lunch today. Today or yesterday, I forget. Time is a construct.
Yes.
That longing or thinking about the bad old days during COVID when somebody coughed, immediately the entire room turned to go look at them. Like,
oh, no, yes.
Like that they had committed some sort of a social faux pas. Like one of the plagued is among us.
Yes.
It's like his allergies, I swear. It's like nobody's buying that, man. It's like December. Nobody has allergies right now.
If stoning people was still a thing in our society, there was definitely a moment where if somebody like coughed in a movie theater or something, you'd be like, we have to kill you.
Yeah, now we have to you must die so that we may live.
Yeah, I don't like the bless you because it creates a, you know, the libertarians amongst us like to talk about positive and negative rights. Like it puts something on me to have to say bless you to you. And then especially if you're in like a semi-public setting, right? Then there's like this weird like race to say bless you, and then you have certain like social dynamics where it's like somebody's spouse is supposed to be the one to say bless them, but then like how long do you wait before you jump in with a bless you? There's a lot you can overthink with this that I think we would do better without.
See, but I'm also afraid of the slippery slope of so you sneeze and somebody says God bless you, right?
Right.
And a sneeze is a involuntary action but that you have some control over. Like a lot of the time you can stop yourself from sneezing. Like
right.
Most of the time if you put your mind to it, you can stop yourself from sneezing. If we expand that to cough, what's next?
Ooh.
Like
sweating a lot,
or somebody rips one. Yeah. Like, are we supposed to say God bless you?
Yes,
I don't want to. I don't want to go to that point. I don't want to. You should not be blessed for doing that. You should be shamed for doing that.
Yes, you're right. Actually, the ripping one, bless you, is actually doorknob.
Doorknob. I randomly thought about doorknob the other day, and like I hadn't given that a thought in almost 30 years, and it made me really happy. Like just thinking, well, yeah, we used to just beat the shit out of people that farted, and that was like that was just a really pro-social act of conditioning you that you need to be on guard all the time.
Okay. Here's how you can be an extremely annoying
I don't
atheist.
think kids do that anymore either. I don't think that game exists anymore.
I think it's died. But no, Chief, I think we can bring it back in like an annoying Redditor atheist kind of way. If you sneeze, you have to say safety before somebody blesses
you. Yeah. Otherwise, somebody is blessing you, and all your atheism, it's gone.
It's gone. You lose.
You got to go to mass this week, man.
You got to restart and reaccumulate your atheist points.
I thought about that one time at work. Like, wouldn't it be really funny? Like after I reconnected with my inner memories of being a kid, it'd be really funny to bring that back sometime. Like somebody, passes gas in public and you just say doorknob and just see what everybody does. See if anybody goes with it. Like as a grown adult in like a business meeting, you just go doorknob and just see what happens. Just see.
Somebody gets up and sprints towards the door.
Like the guy just turns and starts wailing on a guy right there. Like you're all in suits for a presentation and somebody's getting the shit beat out of them.
Chief, it's different, but for some reason it comes to mind. Did nugging ever make it to your school or schools? Do you know what
I don't nugging. I don't know.
So I don't know how far this spread, and it's very possible this was just my school, but I don't think it was. So nugging was when you're sitting in class in sort of like a high school setting where everybody has a backpack out. And you have to secretly steal somebody's backpack. You take out all of the contents in like the main compartment of their backpack, and you put their backpack inside out, and then put all the contacts back in and zip it back up, so that when the backpack is fully reassembled, there's no straps anymore, right. And it looks like a chicken nugget.
And the zippers are screwed up too.
Yes, yeah. And so then when the bell rings and they have to go to the next class, they can't. They have to carry their little nugget. Yes, very funny.
Yeah, no, we didn't do that.
If anybody else has heard of nugging, please let me know. I wonder how far this spread.
There's no good way to insert this into the show.
Please.
Now I have to. So I have a friend, grown adult, professional, working a job, suit and tie every day.
Yes.
Where one of his friends sent him a text message and said, "You want to have a hot dog eating contest?" And it was like, sure.
Yeah.
An all summer long hot dog eating contest. Oh. So now he is in a group chat with now like 30 other guys, and they are having a full summer long hot dog eating contest. It started already, and it goes like with basically opening day, and it goes all the way to like Labor Day, I think.
Wow.
And they have, every time they eat a hot dog, they have a spreadsheet. It's called the dog log. And they update the spreadsheet with where they were, how many hot dogs they ate, and their name. And then they also they're on a Snapchat group as well, and they have to snap whatever the picture of the dog they're eating is as like a confirmation. And it's not considered counted unless somebody throws a dog emoji back up to it to say that I acknowledge and I have seen that you're eating this hot dog. And then the guy that's running this is like keeping stats, like total dogs consumed, average dog per person, who's in first place, who's in second place. I've never been more jealous of a group chat in my life.
So I'd say the board game fan in me, but maybe the MLS fan in me is wondering like, okay, so where does a bratwurst count? Does a foot-long hot dog?
Any kind of tubed meat counts.
Okay.
And the smallest one that you can have is 6 inches. Because that's allegedly the size of a cheese coney at all major restaurants.
Okay.
So cheese coney being the smallest, You can go as big as you want, but you don't get extra credit.
See, that would be the thing. I'd want double credit for a foot long, for example.
No, it has to be greater than 6 inches, and it has to have the bun. You can't just be eating them. You can't be doing the keto. You got to do everything with the dog.
It's like a whole can of Vienna sausages gets to count as one.
No, there's no buns, nothing. Cocktail wieners, nothing. So you try to throw one of those in the dog log, and you're gonna get shamed by everyone. It got me to thinking too, like, what a great promotion for like FC Cincinnati or something. Because they have the POS terminals, right, that track all this sort of shit.
Yes.
So, like, you could have somewhere on a scoreboard at a stadium how many dogs have been served at the game so far. Oh. And if, like, the number reaches a certain point, then, like, something happens where everybody gets a free something. So, you could, like, just have, like, the glizzy counter going during the game. Just have it, like, on, like, a corner of the scoreboard. And if you, like, say, like, we have to serve 1,000 dogs in this game for something to happen. Once it gets to like 850, then everybody's got to go do their part and go grab another hot dog to try and get us over the goal.
I love that. So my dream would be if you got to a certain point, everybody would get one for free. But yes, you'd need to eat like 3,000 hot dogs in TQL Stadium.
Yeah.
And if you do that at the end of the game, there's going to be trays of hot dogs for everybody to get one on the way out. And if not, you got close.
That was also, all right, you want to talk about, like, we're mixing segments here.
Please.
At the end of games at Nippert, they used to have the trays.
The free pizzas.
the pizzas and the trays of extra bratwurst and hot dogs. Like, if you stayed late enough after the games, like helping clean up with like the SG stuff, I ate so many free bratwursts and hot dogs at Nippert Stadium walking out of those games because they were just giving them away because they were going to throw them away otherwise.
I love it.
Yeah.
So that was my favorite.
If you're listening, I want a coney counter at TQL Stadium. We can start with conies. We can move to full hot dogs at some point anyway. Coney counter. And if we hit a certain number of conies sold in the game, everybody gets like something. I don't know what, but like everybody gets a free one, a coupon in the app the next day to go get a coney of their choice over the course of a week.
Of course. It would also be interesting to match like results on the field to how many conies are consumed.
Yeah.
Like if the crowd gets properly conied up, does the team perform better or worse? Maybe more conies makes for a more subdued crowd.
Right. Everyone's in a food coma. Either way, somebody workshop this idea and let's do it and then run with this. I think that every sporting event would be better if there was a way to track in real time. Number one, like how many conies or how many hot dogs the crowd has consumed.
Yeah. I love it. Okay. I really like this next question. James Pooley asks, I was called a cheat last month for submitting 2 questions, but my February question wasn't asked. What's the most indignant you've been about an accusation, even though you were technically in the wrong? Well, James, I think I addressed this in part 1. I did accuse the team of incorrectly celebrating an anniversary that they were very much celebrating correctly.
So this is when I have been indignant, even though I did something wrong.
Yes.
I mean, all the time. Like, this is like my MO.
It's like this podcast.
This podcast, like daily on the Discord, where I just say something stupid, and instead of acknowledging I said something stupid, I triple down on whatever my thing is. Like, no, I'm not gonna. There is no such thing as a tactical retreat in the take game. We just don't do that.
I'm trying to think of something where
there's something there. I would have to think about it, but like, there's been a lot of times where I've been good.
I was going to say enough time has passed where it's not sad anymore, but boy, this was sad for a while. I lost almost my entire high school friend group over an accusation that I stole GameCube games that I absolutely did not, and I had no way of proving I did not do this. So that was a sad time for me, but I've moved on.
I'm glad that you were able to be the bigger man. What games didn't you steal?
You know what? It was, in fairness, It was a lot of games.
Okay.
So the way this worked was one of my friends, Casey, had a GameCube. We were all going to UC. She let me borrow the games because my dorm had like a common room. And I told her like, hey, this is a common room. We can keep the games here, but like they could walk away. And then there was like 35, 40 games, which GameCube games are still as expensive to buy secondhand as they were brand new off the shelf, whatever it was, 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. When did the GameCube come out? 30 years ago?
It's been longer than you shockingly longer than you think.
Yes. And they all went missing. And so, of course, somebody stole them. It wasn't me. But yeah, I could never shake that accusation. So here we are.
Nintendo GameCube. Release date? September 14th,
2004?
2001.
Oh my gosh.
This was released in Japan 3 days after 9/11. Jesus.
Oh boy.
Yeesh.
The weird purple gaming console with a handle, but nobody
you want to talk about
that.
You want to talk about images you can hear? Whenever you see the GameCube logo, that like the rolling cube. Dun.
Do you ever do the trick where you plug in 4 controllers and all hold the Z button so you unlock the secret sound?
Oh, absolutely. Come on.
Good.
I wasn't born yesterday.
So there you go, James. James, I apologize. James, you've inspired me. I may have to go back and see how many questions were asked in the month of the post, but after the last episode of the month was recorded. I wonder how many fallen soldiers of questions are dangling out there that have not been asked.
Whatever. It's $2. We're trying.
There's a couple of questions here I definitely want Grace in here for. But I like this question. Comes from Kate D, who asks, are you hiring another summer intern? And if yes, will this person work exclusively on FCC content or expand their horizons and support the World's Game? Well, Kate D.
World's Game.
I need them to watch every single MLS game. I think I would like, because we are now down as fans of FC Cincinnati, we are now down to one non FC Cincinnati employee beat writer covering practices like training sessions and games. So the Inquirer is still sending somebody to the games. Some of the local TV stations send people to the games. They don't always ask questions in press conferences. Like, I don't think I've heard the new guy at the Inquirer ask a question yet, and none of them are going to training. I would love to make a higher tier of Patreon where the money went directly to paying for somebody to do that. Now, the problem is, as previously mentioned on this podcast, I don't know how much that's worth, and I really feel bad asking people to support money for something like that if, like, it doesn't come to fruition. So I think in the abstract, yeah, I would love to, like, have a summer intern that we could pay, like, a couple $100, maybe more, to cover the team. And maybe that becomes a real position. I would love that, but I don't know. I don't know if people will support it enough to let us have somebody do that full time, if that makes sense. It's a tough gig, man. Like, there's not a lot of people making full-time money covering soccer, period. There's like 10 people in this country doing that?
Yeah, not a lot. And the beat, like, it is. You and I have talked about this, the disappearing beat writer aspect of things where you're covering things on a daily basis. And I mean, there will be days, especially as the Bengals season gets started, where we will not have anyone at training other than, and I love Carter, but it would be nice to have different perspectives, different people asking questions, different people, that are there to, I don't want to say represent the fans, because that's the wrong way to look at it, but just, that the only way we hear about these things is if there is someone in the building that asks about it. And there are certain things that as a team employee, it's probably more difficult for Carter to ask. There are other things that, he might ask and it might lead someone else to have a follow-up question, or even for Laurel to ask and somebody might have a great follow-up question. And so I would love that. It's just a question of, you know, is there an interest there? Can we financially support it? Because the other thing we talked about too is that, like, Luke, the intern last year, was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun with Luke. I wouldn't want to ask an intern to do anything super substantial, like going and covering, or unless we were paying. I'm very pro pay interns. So I don't know. We got to kick it around a little bit more, but I think that we're both interested in it. I think Grayson's interested in it as well, speaking on his behalf when he's not here. If you are listening to this and you're
describes you.
and you're a journalism student, and like, this would be one of those things too, where it would have to be someone in this case where you are going to school specifically to be a journalist, a sports journalist, that I would want to see that you've written for, you know, if not like a student newspaper somewhere, or you're active somewhere with a blog, you're active with, you know, and you're in class, they're like J school classes. And if that's you, and, you know, you want to like give us references with professors and people in your program we can talk to, because the only way I would want to do this is if it's like, okay, we find someone that does this, we're going to pay you, and you're serious enough about this that you're going to make a full commitment to, I will be at home matches, I will be at training at least 2 days a week. Yeah. And then if you make that commitment, we'll pay you. And also, you know, we'll go to bat for you with some people we know at the club to see if we can get you credentialed to be there officially, because this is what you want to do for a living. And obviously you will be tremendously shamed in your profession if you don't take this seriously, or you do things that reflect negatively on us or the fan base, or, you know, your program in general. But I would love to give someone that opportunity. I come from a journalism family. I am the product of two people from the Ohio University Journalism School. So, good question. Kate. So in the spirit of actually answering your question, I would like to expand more of what we're doing with FC Cincinnati. I don't see a spot right now where that would be as useful with the world's GAM, although I would love somebody to be like a guest booker. Like that would be a really great use of outsourcing some of my time. So if you're really good at that, reach out to me. But it feels like a very specialized skill. Right.
All right, I'll ask us one more here. So we got Brock Bermel, who asks, what is your least favorite house pest? Let me say that correctly. House pest to deal with. Chief, have you had to deal with any house pests?
Ants. Ants are awful.
Ants are awful.
But like ants are like low key awful, where it's like ants they're annoying, and it like everybody judges you if they see ants in your house. But ants also aren't going to screw with a lot of the stuff in your house. Whereas like I would much rather deal with ants than roaches or rodents. Yeah. I had a fly problem one time, like where flies, like they were weirdly like breeding or laying eggs like near a light. And so like this one light was just swarming with house flies. No. It's like out of some horror movie. I was like, I don't know what the hell's going on right here.
I don't have a fly problem. I have a demon problem, I think.
Right. I don't need Terminex. I need the Catholic Church on this one.
Already in 2025, I have had a mouse problem and a raccoon problem in the house. So that's been really exciting. Had to set traps for the raccoon. This was great. Never caught the raccoon. I think the raccoon was out of the house when we set the traps, and then the existence of the traps scared the raccoon from coming back into the house and never showed up. So that was really good to spend money on.
There have been many instances where I thought there was an animal inside the house, like between the ceiling and the floor.
You probably did. Yeah.
There's no doubt there was. It's an older house.
Yeah.
And it just left when it discovered there was no food anywhere.
I had a mouse in the garage, which is, of the places for a mouse to be, is probably the place I'd pick. Had gotten into like a bag of grass seed that I still had somewhere. But semi-related, when I had an electric charger put into my garage, the electrician had to run some wires through our basement drop ceiling, and he gave me a gift of a mouse's skull from my basement ceiling. So
nice.
I've had visitors in the past, I guess.
You leave that sitting out for them to know that you come into this house, you're taking your life into your own hands.
I've got the little the gallows of the pirates outside of the port town. Yes, yeah. I've got my little mouses be warned sign up.
Yeah, go back to Redwall. You will find no comfort here.
Dude, okay, hang on. How has Redwall not gotten one of these like streaming giants deals? Come on.
I don't know. That would be I could talk at length on this, and we're trying to keep this episode under an hour or so.
Also,
ready-made, there's like 30 books. Like, it would be the easiest thing.
And you could do each book as a series. It would be so easy if people kept liking it. And there's like so many millions of characters, so you could have all sorts of people do the voice acting. Because my idea would be you either one, do it fully like hand-drawn animation, like the original like PBS series was done.
There was a PBS series?
Oh, yeah. Did you not know there was like an animated series of this?
I did not know. Wow.
Well, I don't know. I think it was on PBS. It has to exist somewhere.
Right.
But the other thing you could do is like the Disney live action animals of like the Lion King. Like I think would actually look good. Yeah. If you just did the whole thing CGI, but
Yeah. That would be a lot of, there's, off season or dead episode time is books that you read as a kid that you are shocked they haven't made a movie of yet, or haven't made a TV show. Redwall's way up there. Yeah.
It'd be really funny to do like a gritty reboot of Redwall where it's just actually humans. So you just take the stories, but it's just
it's like a gritty reboot where it's like, they're fighting with like swords and shit, where they're like hacking each other up, and it's like it's like full R-rated
Game of Thrones Redwall.
Yeah, mouse on mouse combat right there.
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Well, look, if we're talking Redwall, it's probably time for this segment to end.
Been all over the map here.
Let's go over to part 3. Let's preview this DC United game, and then let's get out of here. All right, we are back. Part 3. FC Cincinnati goes on the road this weekend facing DC United. 7:30 p.m. kickoff time. You can catch it, guess what, on Apple TV, if you didn't know about that. We talked a little bit about this in part 1, but if folks were just skipping ahead, you've got Matt Miazga back in training with the full team. You got Miles Robinson back in training with the full team. Evander, Kubo, and Obina Wobodo still off to the side. Teenage Hadebe is back with the full team. We'll see what his fitness is like after taking 2 weeks off, maybe more. So I think we're feeling pretty good about this one. But Chief, where's your headspace at going into this one?
So DC's been awful. I think they've lost 3 straight, and they've been mostly non-competitive matches. Like, they haven't looked good during that time period. They just got absolutely annihilated by San Jose, the Earthquakes. Listen to the World's Gam. I'm sure we'll talk more about that game over on that podcast.
Yes.
So DC is not good. What DC does have is Christian Benteke, who is... He's a dude where it doesn't matter how bad the team is around him. He finds a way to put the ball on frame and be in dangerous areas. Like, even in that San Jose game, they lose 6-1. Benteke still has like 4 shots on goal and is constantly goal dangerous during the in the game. Otherwise, other person on this team that a name I hadn't heard in a while when I was watching that game on Sunday, Dom Badji. Our old good friend, features heavily into this DC attack. So it'll be good to see Dom back, see him on the field again. I probably wish we had him a little more than I wish we had Sergio Santos right now. Goal last week notwithstanding. I do miss Dom.
Yeah.
Otherwise, not a good team. This is a game where even on the road, you would want FC Cincinnati to win this game. You would want them to score a couple of goals in this. I think anything less than a win, you'll have to say is a disappointing result. So yeah. Contain Christian Benteke as best you can. It'd be nice. Be nice if the starting center backs were back for that to help deal with it. Miles Robinson, especially to help deal with Benteke. You wish Miazga was available to match up with him. I don't know.
It feels like Benteke is like gonna be good for one in this game, right?
Yeah.
Like FC Cincinnati, if it has an Achilles heel, it is balls whipped in from far away into the box and finding the head of the biggest guy on the opposing team. Usually, you would think that this team, and in the past, this team has been very good at that, but the last, 10, 15 matches we've seen of this team they've really struggled with that. And Benteke feels like he's good for one. So that this may be where we bring back our old concept of the MLS clean sheet.
Yeah.
I think you just got to assume DC's got one, right? So can we get more than one on the road? I'd say against DC, absolutely. Why not? We didn't score more than one against New England, who is equally as bad. Yeah. Or worse. So
I don't know. It would be nice if Evander played, but his status seems to be very weird. Like they're not talking a lot about.
That's weird, right? Like we don't know what's going on with him.
No, I don't think we ever got a full diagnosis of what the injury that he sustained was. It was a knee, I think, but obviously not enough to require any sort of surgery, treatment, or anything like that. But I don't think he's trained since the Nashville match, right?
Right. Did he? So he got kicked in that game and he had the whole stupid sit out for 2 minutes thing. Nothing jumps out at me of like him being injured in that game. Maybe I'm misremembering. I was watching it from an airplane, so it's very likely I was distracted, but nothing stood out to me. So I'm interested in that situation for sure. Yeah.
And again, it would be like, you want to get him on there because allegedly he's the engine that they want to make this offense go. It hasn't worked out that way so far. Most of his damage has been done from set pieces, and on actual open play, he's kind of looked disappointing is the wrong word, but I was kind of thinking that he would be a little further along in terms of being a focal point of the offense and being a pivot in the attack. I talked with Carter about this, that I don't love how far back he's going to get the ball. And I don't love that he's not making himself available for progressive passes further up the field, because if he's drifting back to get the ball, he's not available to be passed to by somebody else, which is, I think, causing problems. So it's stuff where even if he's not scoring a goal in this game, I would still rather he be on the field than not, just because this is more gel opportunity. And these trainings that he's missing are gel opportunities that he's missing in training. And I'm frustrated, and I'm getting ahead of myself on this a little bit, but I am frustrated that what we're told is this team needs more time training together. And now this is going on 2 weeks that Evander has been unavailable for training, and we just don't know why.
Yeah. And I also think this team with Evander would really help Orishano, and he has not looked as good as he did last year. So there's a couple of dominoes falling there. And then, when Evander's not in, then it's plugging in one of Kubo, who's been off to the side and not with this team as well, or Baird or Santos, which are, fine people, fine players, but it's a pretty big gap between what you're getting with Evander and then any of the other backup options, except for Dotto. It's not as big of a drop with Dotto.
What I do know is that if you look at FOTMob, they have Evander as return, and I don't know where they get this data from, because again, they don't really watch these games, so I'm kind of curious where they're getting this. They have Evander's return as late in May, which I don't know if that's just based on, if it's listed as knee, they automatically attribute it as to a 6-week return. And so I don't know. But again, in the absence of information, that's the closest I can come to a source approximating when we're going to see Evander again.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
That's a problem. I did appreciate this though, in the comparison between Benteke and Evander that is presented to me on FOTMob as the the top players that are being compared. Christian Benteke has scored 5 goals. His XG over the course of this season is 5.86. So
That's
if anything, he's underperforming his expected goals. But I really like this. Evander, 4 goals, expected goals, 0.99, baby. It's a lot of outside of the box free kick goals.
A lot of free kick goals. Kevin, where do you see this match ending?
I think FC Cincinnati wins this one 2-1. I think Benteke scores. I think Denke gets 2. And I don't think it's a particularly close game. I think we got this one.
I just don't see this offense generating 2 goals without Evander on the field. So I'm going to be optimistic and say 1-1. They get a point out of this DC match. And it will be another Sunday episode of the Postcast recording talking about we just want to see this full lineup for a minute just to see what this looks like. Because I don't think we're going to be getting that here in this game. I think Evander will not be playing. I think Woboto will not be starting at the very least.
Right.
And it could be, you could see a very similar lineup to the one that was run out this past week against New England, with maybe the change of Miles Robinson being back in the center back role.
Yeah.
And Hadebe coming off the bench late.
Engel wasn't the worst left center back. Not that he's taken Miles's job, but I wouldn't be upset if I saw Engel there again. So
no.
Last little prediction here. Does Miazga play 1 minute in this game?
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say Miazga gets on for 15, 20 minutes in this game.
That would be awesome. I think a lot of people would be happy.
And that would be like, no matter what happens, no matter what the result is, if Miazga makes it back to the field in this game's a win.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so that's what I'm telling myself right now. I'm pre-coping.
Well, perfect. Well, with that, Chief, we have previewed this match. We have wrapped this episode. There's only one thing left to do.
Yeah, if you want to hear why I'm about to say this, tune into the World's Gam on wherever you get your podcasts at. Because today, absolutely like every other day, but especially today, fuck Columbus.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Cincy Postcast. It is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out at thepostcincy.com or just click a link in the description to check out some of our written work. It also has links to our social media accounts across all sorts of different platforms, including YouTube, where we are trying to do more and more video content. Please, dare I say it, like and subscribe and leave a comment. But no, that would be really, really helpful. Also want to give a thank you to Jim Trace and the Makers. They're a local Cincinnati band who provided all of the music for this episode. We love having them on board. You can check them out. Again, link in the description of this episode to find out where they might be playing shows next or where you can listen to more of their music. Also want to give a massive, massive thank you to the awesome and very attractive patrons over on Patreon. It is a voluntary subscription that people take out with no real promise of anything extra that keep this show afloat. And we are so, so thankful to those of you that have decided to take that commitment. If you do like the show, or at least just want to engage with other people who have listened to the show and want to talk about FC Cincinnati, MLS, soccer, or really anything else, you can go on over to Discord. Again, link in the description. Lots of links in the description where you can find a link to the Discord. That's where we are keeping the conversation going 24/7. It feels like it's a really fun group of people in there just talking about FC Cincinnati. And like I said, just about everything else. And finally, I'll say it. If you liked this episode, and given the fact that you've made it all the way to the end, I have to assume you either like it or for some reason cannot reach the stop button. Please share this episode with a friend or family member or someone who likes FC Cincinnati. The best way for us to grow is from a personal recommendation from somebody who likes it. And if that's you, please tell other people. And if you don't have any friends, feel free to give us a review on whatever your podcast platform of choice is. We'll take anything we can get. But again, a huge, huge thank you to everybody for listening to this show. I am blown away that anybody listens to this. So again, I well and truly mean this. Thank you so much for listening.